Okay, so even though it's pretty much lunchtime and Spirit has asked me, do you feel like doing deliveries? And we're like, no. Right? We don't feel like doing any deliveries. So I love to see foreign women driving cars because I think about how, the men in their homelands had made them suffer. I mean, they did that even when I moved here to Texas, right? There was women that was independent, well, not independent, but they were out here, having a career or working an income, right? And the men were like, they had to drive them to work and pick them up from work, and it was just like, what? And part of that was because, he wanted to have, an expensive car. He was like, we gotta have one good car or one, good truck. Because a lot of men, they wanted trucks here in Texas, right? And these trucks can cost damn near $100,000 or more. And a lot of times back in the day, men used to justify getting a truck so they could do like hauling or helping people move for extra money. But many of these men, they're not doing that. They are not doing that. So at least, we got our little walk-in. It was only about a half a mile, but that's okay. is better than none. You know, we got out. So they moved the public library here in this new building. Yeah, this is downtown Browlette. It's like one street and barely 2 blocks. Building some new apartments here. They look kind of nice. Not that far from the train station. Hell. Yeah, they were blowing at me. They were blowing at me. I'm like, yeah, I want to make a right turn, but I ain't going to make a right turn if the light turns green. So, yesterday, I was watching this video about Social Security, and the people are getting letters of overpayment, and other people are getting letters that they have to requalify. And yeah, so I wasn't wrong about my interpretation that, you know, early retirement is basically like disability, except worse, right? Because the people on disability, they're given some kind of grace, right? And whereas if you are on early retirement, if you make more than your benefits, right? You make more than your benefits. It used to be that they would take $1 off as overpayment for every $2, right? And they would allow you to, they would just take it off, right? And what was left over, they would give you. But what was said on this video is this year they changed it. And how they changed it is if they notify you that you have an overpayment, that you must contact them as to what the circumstances and situation is that you have an overpayment. Otherwise, you might not get a check as expected. I was like, why? Why? Well, it seems like there was a problem. And the problem was that people were making money, but their taxes suggested that they didn't actually get an overpayment because they were losing money in their other business. And I guess this became problematic. Right? It became problematic. Because I remember, what was that, about a year or two ago, where this man was stating, okay, if you're close to full retirement and say, you start making, X amount of dollars, don't worry about it, keep making your money and, I guess, he kind of was suggesting that you will fall through the loopholes. And I know Trump is like, what loopholes? Say it again, and he'll close that loophole up. Because Trump loves social media. Oh my God. Trump and his team will filter through this social media and find out what people have been doing. And if there's loopholes and stuff where they've been getting over, oh yeah, they're shutting it down. They're shutting it down. So, because that was one of the things that I was wondering, right? Especially when, it got to a point where I was like, this early retirement, is difficult because I'm really not getting enough to pay my bills, right? And it was easy it would be easy with overtime or something like that to go over my benefit amount, right? So this guy kind of broke it down. He was like, okay, well, if you make more than $23,000 a year, then you had an overpayment. And I was like, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's the way it is, right? You got an overpayment. So I don't like how they, treated those people that had to take early retirement, because a lot of people had to take early retirement because they were being forced out of the workplace. And a lot of them were too old and unable, to learn a new trade or a new skill. Now, Now, you can't tell that to politicians who have not worked hard laborious jobs all their life, because they don't understand that, you know, the restrictions of poverty or low income or just managing to survive is not the same as it is for these privileged people who have been able to live a life of luxury and a life of privilege, right? They get to eat privileged foods, they get proper diets, you know, they're not sitting down, you know, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, you know, being forced to, you know, to handle calls every 10 seconds. If they're a laborer, they're not forced to work in all of these different elements, and have quotas if you're working in the warehouse, you know. I mean, you know, my last job I lost because, you know, I ended up getting sick and I didn't have, you know, any sick time but a day or two, and that was it. But the flu lasted longer than a day or two. And I know some people will ask, did you take your flu shots? No, I didn't take any flu shots. I never had the flu. Oh, look at all of these Texas blue bonnets here. I want to stop and take a picture in the middle of them right now. Can I? I might be able to. Oops. Not with that truck zooming up behind me. You heard him? I'm like, get out the way. But look at all of these blue bonnets right here. Look at them, look at them, look at them. I got to show you. See all these Texas blue bonnets? Aren't they beautiful? They just look like they go forever. Forever. Blue bonnets forever. Man, the last time I took pictures in the area of blue bonnets, I lost my car keys. I lost my car keys there. Wasn't a good experience after that. But yeah, blue bonnets. And then we had the police up here. So I'm gonna turn around and let them know that I am not trying to do anything except take a picture of these blue bonnets. And I might put my ass in the middle of them. Okay, I got my tripod right here. I could take a picture of me in the blue bonnets. Look. I got my tripod. Let me see if I can take a picture of me in these blue bonnets. I think I can. Let's go do it. on us. This is a Texas flower. I still got my keys. So we didn't have the same outcome as the last time. Nope. And last time we didn't have a tripod either. So we'll have to see how that picture turns out. Oops. Okay. Let's go. Yeah, so the selfie made it possible for me to take the picture and not necessarily have to have someone take the picture for me. All of these bluebonnets. Oh my God. But you gotta be careful of the bees. You got to be careful of the bees. If I should buy me something to eat before I go back home. Monday the 14th. Places called plazas here now that are like indoor swap meets, and they have indoor like food businesses and stuff. And I only found that out when I was doing DoorDash. I found that out. So getting back to what I was talking about, unlimited income and still get your Social Security benefits. Now, there are people out there who might decide not to have pulled out their Social Security benefits when it's fully vested, and that's one of the things that he was talking about. He was like, yes, you will get your maximum amount based off of, your highest, 35 years of payment, right? But I don't know if, people who are up there in age, because you have to contribute at least 35 years into the Social Security system. I don't know if they're actually, making enough, at 60, and above to really, count towards, their, to really count towards really making a difference on their Social Security. What I mean is, a lot of times, seniors, they'll get a job and they won't be making more than, $15, $20 an hour. Okay? However, maybe in their younger years, they may have made $30 an hour. Right? However, if they have themselves a full-time job and they have medical benefits, then, we understand. We understand completely that, you're going to continue working, you're going to continue getting your medical benefits, maybe you might also have, a 401k, consideration to deal with your present employer. But once you reach, your full retirement age, now, full retirement age, changes. And it's different for different people. And I think it begins from the time, you first started contributing to the Social Security system, right? So what does that mean? Well, what that means is, I'm not really sure how they determine that some people can't retire until 67, age 67 or 68 or 69. I'm just not sure how that worked out for them. I know for myself, my age for full-time retirement is 65. And I know for some other people, it's higher. So one of the things that he had mentioned was, that there was going to be a lot of people who qualify for Social Security benefits this year. I'm like, oh, this year? So, what they have to understand, and they really do need to understand, is when you take early retirement, you know, you should truly only take it if you need to take it, right? If you know you have bad health, or if the job is too hard, you know, and you can't, you know, find another job, and you know, like I said, if it's like your last resource, right? I wouldn't have took it if I didn't feel like I had to take it because my health was bad. And my health was bad. You know, there was a job situation problem, right? Where, you know, they wanted, you know, minorities to work basically laborers jobs, and my health was bad. I couldn't work a laborer's job. So anyway, let me check my mail. Woo! Did not get the SA letter in the mail. I mean the SSA letter in the mail. Ain't no SA letter in that mail. Ooh-wee. Okay? But, you know, I had to carefully, you know, watch just how much money, you know, I was making. And sometimes, you know, with the mandatory overtime, you know, and you know, and they don't let you off, and you're forced to work overtime, you know, that was, you know, it made me panic sometimes. It made me feel like, oh yeah, this is problematic. To the point where, you know, I'm like, you know, Lord, please don't let me get over $23,000. So